You guys, we are in the middle of a revolution. Now, I know I have talked about this before, but AI is here and AI is here to stay. And if you are not using it as a business owner right now, you are going to be behind the curve and very quickly going to be left in the dust. It doesn't matter if you are 60 years old or 20 years old. If you are a business owner or an employee of any business, you need to be learning how to use AI and how to make it make you a better employee or business owner. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about how to go from amateur to expert with ChatGPT in under 20 minutes. Now, before we get into the episode, make sure you head on over to nextgenowners.com to check out all of the other offerings we have, to include getting signed up to come to our Cheer Biz Accelerator hosted at my gym, Oregon Dream Teams, October 9th and 10th. I will be teaching here along with Shelly Shepard, and of course, Tori will be here as well. So you're not going to want to miss this if you've ever wanted to learn directly from me. If you're looking to join our conversations, make sure you're in Cheer Gym Owners on Facebook and All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners. If you're a gym owner or a coach, make sure you're in those groups. All right, so we are going to be diving into how to become an expert at ChatGPT, go from amateur to expert in less than 20 minutes. And this is going to be a lot of information. Now, I've talked about AI a ton over the last year. I obviously am a big fan of it. I utilize it almost every single day. In fact, I was utilizing it as I was driving here to record the podcast because I can just talk to ChatGPT and we can be working while I drive. So if I'm not listening to a podcast, listening to a book or something like that, I oftentimes will have ChatGPT up and I will be talking to it and we will be working while I drive without me even having to type or violate the rules of the road. It's just absolutely insane, the things that you can do with it. Now, you probably know all of this. Hopefully you are already at least using ChatGPT. Now, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of all of the AIs that exist because there are a ton of them and I am spending a lot of time utilizing them. In fact, Tori will oftentimes come into the office and say, "Hey, what are you up to?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just arguing with AI." And she's like, "Normal day." Because oftentimes you do have to have arguments with the artificial intelligence to get it to do what you want. And I've had my points in time where I'm like, man, this just took me more time than it should have taken, than I could have done it just by myself. But I'm learning how to utilize AI more and more efficiently. And as I learn, AI is learning and getting better and better. So I want to give you some tips and tricks to go from just using ChatGPT like everyone does to using it in a more advanced version. So what does everyone do? Everyone goes to ChatGPT and says, "Hey, write this email for me," or "help me with my social media marketing plan," or those kind of just like general prompts. And the reality is that the nuance is in the prompt and the way you prompt ChatGPT. Because if you just give it a generalized garbage prompt, you're going to get a generalized garbage response. Garbage in, garbage out. You need to be very, very specific with what you want ChatGPT to do in order for it to execute on those tasks. And there are a lot of ways that we can become better at utilizing ChatGPT. So number one is, I want you to take the time to develop a master prompt. What do I mean by this? So open up ChatGPT and you can open it on your phone or on your computer. I like using it on my computer more than I like using it on my phone. I will use it on my phone every once in a while, but I think on my computer, it just functions a little bit better. And I want you to basically tell it about yourself and say, "Hey, I would like to develop a master prompt for my role as the CEO of Oregon Dream Teams," and then give it details about you. And I will say, "I want you to ask me questions to help clarify my role within Oregon Dream Teams, what my goals are to help me grow my company, and give me advice as if you were my business partner helping me grow my gym or my social media marketing manager, whatever you want it to do necessarily. It will spit out a bunch of questions. I like to talk to it with this. I think it's more fun. So I will say, ask me those questions one at a time, and then it will ask me, and then I get to respond. And it's going to save all of those things. And then you tell it, give me this in an exportable PDF that I can download and I can use across AI platforms to give a strong master prompt so it understands my brand, my voice, my desires, and my thoughts. And it will build that for you. So you don't even have to come up with it. Like, you ask it what it needs to do the things that you're wanting it to do, and it will ask you the questions like, hey, what do you need to develop a perfect master prompt to help partner with me in my role as a chief marketing officer or the chief executive officer of this company? And it'll start asking you questions, and it'll ask you things like what's cash flow, what's revenue, all of those different things if you haven't already told it. And it will then create this master prompt. And then you can use that in the future anytime you're interacting with ChatGPT, or if you want to go over to Gemini or Gronk or Perplexity or whatever, you can take that master prompt with you and you can implement it and say, hey, I'm looking for help with this. Here, use this master prompt to understand who I am. Using those master prompts helps set the parameters, right? I've talked a lot about, utilizing maps, and it helps to know the address. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're giving it the address. Like, this is how I want you to operate. These are the things I'm looking for you to do. And I want you to understand me. So taking your time to develop that master prompt is going to help ChatGPT be much more effective in what it gives you. And you're not going to now get those completely generalized outputs when it creates something. A lot of times people will go to it and they'll ask it to draft an email, and you're like, man, that sounds like every other ChatGPT email. Now, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to get around that even more here in just a second, but these master prompts will absolutely help you. And then it won't just put in just random information quite as frequently. Number 2 is use project folders. Okay, you can build different project folders. So I, as you know, own multiple companies. I own Oregon Dream Teams, I own Next Generation Gym Owners, and I own Dream Camps. And those are all separate companies. And so I have separate project folders for each one, and I've spent the time to develop prompts for each one. So I have master prompts for each one with my role within ODT, my role within Next Gen, my role within Dream Camps. I'm even actually considering building a personal folder so it just understands me and my family and our household budget and those kind of goals. So it's working with all of that stuff in those project folders. And then you can even go even deeper and set your project settings so you can let it know exactly how you want it to act within that. And that's a great place to put your master prompt, put that in your project folder, make sure it understands what parameters you're working within. But those project folders help keep things organized, and it lets it know when you're working in that project folder how it is thinking. Because if you're asking it a broad spectrum of questions, like you're hopping in and you're asking it a question as gym owner, and then you're asking it a question as mom, and then your kids hop on and they're asking a question about school, ChatGPT doesn't really know exactly what previous conversations it should be pulling from in its memory database. So we want to use those project folders to be more clear and concise and make sure ChatGPT is staying focused on the things that we want it to be focused on. Now, I mentioned there are some things that we can do to get around that kind of very ChatGPT language, and that is by using canvases. Now, when you look in ChatGPT, you'll see canvas. And when I first saw it, I thought it was canvas. I wasn't even thinking canvas because I use Canva so much. So I'm looking at that and I'm going, okay, well, what's a canvas? Well, canvas is absolutely phenomenal. It's one of the coolest things in ChatGPT. So when you create something in ChatGPT, what I want you to do is have it create the output in a canvas. So if you say, please, you've done your master prompt, you've given it your master prompt, you're in your project folder, and you're like, please write me an email detailing why we have canceled going to this competition. These are the considerations I want you to make, utilizing the voice that we've already established, and generate this in a canvas format. When it creates the output, it's going to give you a canvas. And that canvas is something that you can actually edit. So you can go into it and you can add commas, you can delete emojis, you can change bullet points. You can do all of that stuff, and then you can save it. And the cool thing is then ChatGPT is going to learn from what you edited, and it's going to save that. So the next time you're not going to have to go in and edit quite as much. This also will help eliminate the hallucinations that ChatGPT has. If you've used it for any length of time, you know that ChatGPT will oftentimes include what are considered hallucinations or just really generalized random information that you don't want it to add to it. I was having it reevaluate our employee handbook and evaluate it for clarity. And I actually had it comparing to an old one and a newer one. I said, hey, I want you to compare these two. I want you to merge them together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it kind of hallucinated and it added all this stuff that wasn't in there and took out a bunch of really important things, like things that were important to me that I wanted to make sure were listed out for staff to know that they could and couldn't do. It just took those out and added kind of generalized language. And I was like, that's not what I'm looking for. And because I didn't ask it to give me the output in a canvas, I couldn't go back and edit it quite as smoothly. This is also why if you've ever been like, hey, draft this email, and then you respond, I want you to tweak it, but have a much less formal tone and make it more casual. And then the email it gives you next is like completely different. And you're like, whoa, where did the old one go? You're like, go back to the old one, and it can't do it. It's because you're not in a canvas. And so it is not iterating on the same product. When you're working in a canvas, it's going to iterate exactly on that product. So I always ask for outputs now to be in a canvas format. That allows me to edit. That allows me to ask it to go back and edit, and it save that information and remember that information. It makes a huge difference in your productivity within Go High Level. The next thing I want you to be doing is create custom GPTs. Now, this is a little bit more of an advanced system to do, creating your own custom GPTs, but this is how you are going to automate your redundant tasks. So anything that you're doing in your business, start working on creating custom GPTs. Now, this is more complicated than I can go into on this episode, like truly walk you through exactly how to do it. The best way to learn how to make a custom GPT is go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I am interested in creating a custom GPT to help me respond to emails on a daily basis, or I am looking for a custom GPT to help me check in athletes for attendance purposes, or I am looking for a custom GPT to reach out to athletes that did not attend class. And basically, we're going to automate those redundant tasks, those things that don't need to be on our plate that are taking up a bunch of your time. And once you've learned how to create custom GPTs, then start having your staff create custom GPTs so they can free up more of their time. You're leveraging AI to automate your tasks and make your life easier. Which brings me to my last and most important one on how to go from being a complete amateur to an expert with ChatGPT. Now, this is going to take you a little bit of time to learn, but ChatGPT recently released ChatGPT Agent. And you guys, when I tell you that this thing is insane, I mean it. ChatGPT Agent is absolutely nuts. Now, in order to utilize GPT Agent, you actually have to select it. So when you're on your desktop, you actually have to pick that you want it to be using the ChatGPT Agent. And what that's going to allow it to do is actually take action on a website and do certain things. So I've used this now 4 times, really. The first time I ever used it, I was getting ready for our staff retreat and we hadn't booked a location. And Tori was like, I can't really find anything. So I went to ChatGPT Agent and it'll start with saying setting up desktop. And I gave it the prompt. I want you to find me a rental utilizing Airbnb and VRBO.com. So Airbnb.com and VRBO.com. I want you to look in these areas. Okay, so I gave it like Lincoln City, Mount Hood, Seaside. I want you to look for houses that sleep up to this amount of people within this price range. I gave it all of my criteria and I said, I want you to find me the best 10 to 15 rentals and create a consolidated list for me. And then I hit go. And 25 minutes later, I had a beautiful list of different rentals that I just clicked on the links, looked at, sent them to Tori, and then booked. And if I wanted to, I could even have given it the information to book the rental. It could have done all of that completely autonomously without my work. So like it was literally doing that while I was on a coaching call. And then when I was done with my coaching call, I looked over and my spreadsheet was done and I had it. Okay. I've also used this to create marketing campaigns within some softwares. I've used it in a variety of different ways. I've used it to create email automations. I've said, hey, and it logs in, right? I go in and I log in. It goes to the web page. I log in as me, and then it starts doing things. It even goes so far as to, if it doesn't know the software, it will be like, I'm going to the help guide and I'm going to learn everything about that. So honestly, my next task is to use ChatGPT Agent to start doing tasks within iClass Pro. I'm going to see what it can do for me. I'm going to leverage that within my gym. And I have so many other like softwares and programs that we use that I'm going to see what ChatGPT Agent can actually do. Like, I believe that you could probably train this to register for you for competitions. Like, there are so many amazing things that the agent can do and take care of for you, and it's completely autonomous. If you do these things, you will go from being the average amateur just using it to give you text responses to being a true expert at ChatGPT and starting to leverage it in your business in ways you never could have imagined. All right, everyone. I know not everyone is as excited about AI as I am, but I promise you it is here to stay. And spending a little bit of time learning it will save you time. Now, I should have mentioned at the beginning, everything I'm telling you to do, you do need a paid account for. You do need to get the professional account for ChatGPT. But you guys, it's one of the best investments you can make. That $20, you're going to make it back like that. So you're not going to regret it. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And with that, we will catch you on the next one.